Welcome to the 100th episode of the Unstoppable Profit Podcast. This podcast will give you all the tools to grow your business and live life on your terms. Millionaire agents and entrepreneurs think and act differently than others. This podcast will give you a simple, proven, 3-step blueprint to grow your business. Over the past 31 years of research in your industry, Mike Stromsoe has created a unique philosophy called the 3 Ps: people, process, and promotion. This outside-the-box thinking and guidance provides agency entrepreneurs just like you the knowledge and tools you can quickly implement to explode your agency business. He has been there, done that, and he's still doing it. Wherever you are today, if you're starting with nothing or are well on your way to the success you desire, with the right people, processes, and promotions in place, you will be unstoppable. And now, I'd like to introduce your host, Mike Stromsoe.
Greetings, everybody. This is Mike Stromsoe coming to you live from the Living Agency Laboratory. And this podcast is a very special podcast for many, many reasons. But my friends, if you've been following our podcast since the early days, this is podcast number 100, the century mark, the C note. Woohoo! Yes! And we are so privileged and we are so proud to bring you the best of the best, not only agents, but business minds across North America and beyond. And it's been an absolute privilege, but the good news is we're just getting started. But I thought for this particular podcast that we would bring on a very special guest today. And I am privileged to have him on the podcast again, Mr. Bill friggin' Unstoppable Butler. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Mike. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be number 100.
No, you've earned the right, my friend, to be number 100. And I think we should go ahead and spill the beans in just a moment. But what our initials mean, because we get that question a lot, don't we?
We do.
Do you know where that was born, actually?
What's that? Tell me, Mike.
The BFUB?
I know where it was born, but I think we have some people who may not.
Yeah. So, and I know it might come as a shock to some, but the story might have been skewed a little over the years, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, this little acronym or Stromsoeism, as I was positioned on a podcast recently, it was born in a boardroom in Bam, Alabama, to those locally in Bam, or Birmingham, Alabama. I was down there masterminding with some other agents years ago. And as we do in our platinum coaching circles, Bill, as you know quite well,
I do.
We share and trade ideas. And we share and trade personal development stories and everything else. And that's what we're going to dig in today and find out from you, Bill. I couldn't be more pumped and excited about today, by the way. And that's one of the many, many reasons we're having Bill on this 100 podcast, because he just did something that was absolutely off the charts. More in a minute. So we're down in the boardroom in BAM, and I'm just sharing ideas, that I've implemented in my own insurance agency business. And the dude at the other end of the table from Alabama, his name was Terry, and he goes, "Mike, that was friggin' unstoppable." And so somebody else in the room, who you and I both know, Bill, picked up on that. And this guy's got a steel trap for a memory, right?
He does.
So we went back to an email discussion group a couple weeks later, and we're trading information. And he starts out. He picked up on the conversation. He goes, "Terry said you were friggin' unstoppable, and so I'm going to rename you MFUS, Mike friggin' Unstoppable Stromsoe." And so somebody else in that email discussion group said, well, then I went back and said, well, his name is Russ, and it's RFUC. So I said, RFUC, blah, blah, blah. And somebody else in the group said, how do you pronounce that?
We'll let everyone out there listening and fill in the blanks.
Yeah. Well, or some that are watching.
Some that are watching, you can.
So it's RFUC. We'll leave that to your wild imaginations. So anyway, that's the backstory on it. So people in our coaching circles and our platinum coaching circles have picked up on that. And so we've all got the handle BFUB, MFUS, CFUB, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's a little insider secret that we're now sharing with the world. No longer private.
No longer private. That's okay.
Yeah. So speaking of not private, so Bill is not only one of our highest achieving platinum coaching members. Bill made a decision to jump into coaching back in 2015. Bill, can you think back why?
So I know the exact point when that happened. I was listening. Mike used to do webinars, and he had on a webinar James Malinchak, and that was actually the first webinar that I listened to after attending a boot camp. And I asked the question of James Malinchak, what's the one thing that I could do to improve myself as a business owner? He said, hire a coach. Aha, the light bulb went off. I should hire a coach. And that's where I jumped into coaching and haven't looked back since. And it has been a wild ride, but one that I continue to invest in because it's, I couldn't get the value. The return on investment is I couldn't put a number on it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So in our coaching circles, we trade information, we share our wins, we share our lessons. And just for those who don't know what we're talking about there, lessons are also known as what? Failure.
Losses. Yeah, failure. You got to fail forward. You got to fail to succeed. Yep. Otherwise, you just get nowhere. So.
Yep. And, I say this with great sensitivity to anybody out there who's recently lost a loved one. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to you. But at the end of the day, we also say, if you fail, nobody died. We're good. You can recover. You can do this.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we believe that. So in our trading of information of most recent success stories, I do remember back at an early boot camp that you attended, maybe prior to that webinar that you were on, I remember you coming up to me at the break, because at that particular event, I want to say it was 2014 in Orange County, California.
It was.
And you came up to me at the break and said, you keep talking about this automobile university. I want to know more about that. And what do you have in automobile university anyway? And so I promptly, I think that night, went out and got my bag out of the car of all of my CDs and everything else that were in automobile university. And I remember you taking pictures.
That's right.
Of all of my CD collection from inside my car, which was Automobile University. And that told me right then and there, I said, that dude's going somewhere, because he's focused on learning more and becoming more. So
yeah. Thanks, Mike. And I got to tell you, some of those I already had and I hadn't listened to. And then I got back after that boot camp and took action. That's the other thing that, I've learned in coaching is, everything's great. You can go to a seminar, there's a lot of training out there in this industry to better yourself, but it's real easy to dump all that on the airplane flight home, watch a couple movies, and then just get back to the way things were. But the real people who succeed in this industry take action on those ideas when they get back.
Yeah. If you keep doing the same thing you've always been doing, you're going to get the same thing you've always gotten, right?
Absolutely. Same results, same action, same results. So.
Yeah. So fantastic. So that's when I learned that Bill's a learner. And if we want to have more, we have to become more, because we attract exactly what we are and who we become. So he has become not only a great agency owner through the practices that he's learned from his platinum coaching members, our one-on-one days, et cetera, et cetera. He's built a great agency that is going places. More specifically, that you have a smack recipe. And it's niche driven. So I couldn't be more proud about that. Before we go on to the next thing that I really want to pull out of you, anything to add on that?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Jim Collins, and I can't talk to agency owners enough about his teaching and learning. In fact, after the book we're going to talk about that I just got done listening to that caused kind of this whole thing, I'm listening to Entrepreneurship 2.0, which is really great. Audible listen. Just came out recently. I've listened to all of Jim's books a couple of times. And while you think those are huge corporation ideas, he's talking about IBM, they're business principles. Whether you're a 3-person insurance agency, a multi-state operation, business principles are business principles. And Jim Collins has some really dialed in business principles to help you take your agency to the next level. And I think that's probably one of the biggest catalysts for me personally. Every different things speak to different people, but Jim Collins and his teachings have really spoken to me and my agency and what we've built and how we built things. And so, you have to continue to learn. And every time you listen to a book, read a book, you hear different things, you hear it a different way. You're at a different point in your evolution of your business. Things change and you hear something different. So, you have to continue to be a learner. Cause technology, the industry, I mean, things just are changing so fast in this industry. You've got to, continue to innovate.
The day we stop learning is the day we start growing, right?
I've heard that before.
So, by the way, that means I second or I agree for those who are watching live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Another wisdom from the inside circles. But one other thing, Bill, I just learned this morning. I haven't had a chance to share it with you yet.
I'm all ears. Because
believe it or not, I personally develop and train and grow every single day. So it was a small little thought process at the end of a 70-minute training, which was very deep and very heavy with content. The leader said, it's really this simple. Businesses are simply businesses with people serving and helping people. I heard that after this huge, deep 70-minute training. I'm going, wow, that was a great thought. Businesses are simply businesses with people serving and helping people. It's really that simple. Now, underneath that, that's a whole different training, right?
Yeah. That's where the coaching comes in, figuring out how to make all that work.
Well, it's a simple 3-step blueprint called the 3 Ps: people, processes, and promotions, in that order. Thanks you for the lead, Bill, but I'm going to divert back to you because this is all about you today. So Bill is one of the most successful agents in our coaching program. Everybody's successful in their own rights, but he's an action-packed dude, and that's one of the handles he flies by. So what we do is we trade information. We share our latest, greatest reads. Audible is my mistress. The CDs are gone. Audible is my mistress in my car. My wife knows about her, so we're all good there. And so I was introduced to a book, I'm going to say 2 or 3 months ago, but my library is backed up a month or two. So I finally got to this book in my library.
Mike, who introduced you? I want to know who introduced you to that book because
I don't remember, to be honest.
All right.
And I run in multiple circles because of the coaches that I study under, just for everybody's observation out there. I have three that we invest in our businesses to continue to become more. So it could be somebody from one of those circles because I sit in my own masterminds, even though we lead masterminds in our circles. So I don't know. So
I don't know who to thank for this.
I'll figure it out during one of those moments. So anyway,
all right. I'll thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully I'll have my pad right there on the bathroom counter and we won't reveal anymore because that's probably TMI. But anyway, so somebody introduced me to this book and I went through it on Audible and I was like, oh my God, that was one of the best 2 books that I've gone through in the last 2 years. It's called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And I thought, go ahead, Bill. For those of you watching, Bill's got his copy right there. Honestly, I don't have my copy with me, so props to you. I said that's one of the best books I've been through in the last 2 years. Now, I will preface this for some of those of you out there. It's got a lot of rough language in it, but if you could just disregard the language and focus on the story and what this person ultimately achieved in his life. And he achieved these things in his life because of a decision. And that's what I want to pull out of Bill today. So, and in addition to that, this dude did not have in fact, that's not even fair. He had an incredibly tragic and difficult upbringing in life, and he still beat the odds, so to speak.
Yeah,
so.
I would think he would say he started in the sewer. Like that. That's actually what he says in the book is he started in the sewer. And the book is great. I've read a couple excerpts out of it. I would highly recommend the Audible because they give additional, it's not just reading the book. David Goggins breaks in and gives anecdotes like a podcast throughout the book. It's a long listen. It's 13 hours, but it's worth the investment. The beginning part about his upbringing is pretty tough to listen to if you've had some abuse issues. I'll just throw that out there because that was his upbringing. But inspirational story and I've done like 1/5 of the stuff that guy's done, and similar things within the military. And that's part of why it spoke to me and, got me hooked in when Mike told me about the book.
Yeah. Well, let's give credit where credit's due. By the way, Bill is one of the reasons that we have our freedom today. And I want to publicly thank Bill again for his service to our country. So Bill served all of us and allowed us to enjoy the freedom that we get to enjoy today through his service in the Army, and he's an Army Ranger. So thank you, Bill. Sua sponte is one of the things you taught me. Let Rangers lead the way is another thing that I picked up. So props to you.
So yeah, that was one of the hooks for me in the book is David Goggins, and just a real quick preface on this, because that kind of leads to why, I'm invited here today. So, David Goggins, tough upbringing, decided he was going to join the Air Force, couldn't be a pararescue guy because he couldn't swim. So he wound up as a forward air controller, meaning he goes out with the Army and calls close air support. So he would go out. I was in the infantry. We'd get these Air Force guys attached to us, and they'd call in the air support for us. And so you'd have this Air Force guy out, and that was what David Goggins did in the Air Force. And he wound up joined at 175 pounds, left at 290. So he was a big dude when he got out of the Air Force, and was working for Ecolab, killing cockroaches at restaurants, wasting his life away. That's what he would say. And he decided he would become a Navy SEAL, but he had to lose 106 pounds in 3 months. So he did that, wound up getting into Navy SEALs, took him 3 tries to get through Hell Week. Just Google Hell Week if you don't know what that is. And wound up passing, becoming a Navy SEAL, and then kind of went on to do some incredible feats beyond that. And he also went to Army Ranger School. So just for the military people out there who this makes sense to, I'm Ranger qualified. I'm not a Ranger. So for the military nerds out there, they know what that means. I served in the 101st Airborne Division and am Ranger qualified. So I went to Ranger School. David Goggins went to Ranger School. So there's always that hook. And, Ranger School, he talks about in the book as well. And that's a huge grind. So, it kind of hooked me in. So I started, you're reading a book and you start Googling who you're reading or listening about. And I go to David Goggins' website and I see this 4. So I literally started listening to this book 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I had a one-on-one coaching call with Mike, and we're collaborating. He's giving me some advice. And he said, I'm reading this book right now, and David Goggins talks about callousing your mind. You got to, you do a lot of pull-ups and your hands get callous. You got to callous your mind because things get hard. And so Mike brought that up. So I Googled David Goggins, and he has this 4x4x48 challenge. And what that means is, and it was coming up March 5th, and this is like 2 weeks ago, and you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So that was the challenge. And initially my brain said, that doesn't sound too much fun. I don't think I want to do that. But then I thought about it a little bit more and thought, well, I can run 4 miles, and I can probably run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So what the heck? I think we should do it. And this was like a week ago. So I just decided to do it out of the blue. And I really actually haven't done any training or running since COVID, or really 2018, which is probably a huge physical mistake. And I might talk about that a little bit, but that's kind of what, his message really is, that we're only giving 40% effort at any given time. And that kind of comes to what we were talking about at our last platinum coaching session last fall. And I copped to that to our group.
So 40% effort, to who do you refer when you say that?
Everybody. Like David talks about, whether that's physically, mentally, and, and I talked about it at our platinum group, Mike, and I'll share this with everyone that, everyone, I really appreciate the kind words about the success of the agency and all the hard work I put in. But, I had to confess to my coaching group that I wasn't actually giving all my effort. And, I get a lot of congratulations. I've had some success, been recognized for some of my work and what I've done as an agency principal. But, I'm actually not applying myself as hard as I could. And I had to tell everybody that in our coaching group in a Zoom call with 8 other agency owners or 10 other agency owners, which really sucked to say, I'm not working as hard as I could. And that's the other part of David Goggins' book that really spoke to me, is because, I knew 4 or 5 months ago that I was letting COVID be an excuse about not working hard, about, well, it's COVID, the office is shut down, we're not selling as much, we don't have to do whatever, we're working, I'm in my home office, I don't have to do whatever. The carrier,
comfortable home office.
Yeah, my comfortable home office. It's easy to punch out at 4:30 and walk and commute to my living room, which is the commute, because there's no drive home. I just walk out of the office. And so, I think it not only is that an excuse, but in this industry, I think, once you get to a certain level of success, it doesn't take much to keep that level of success in this industry. We're in the insurance industry. For anyone who's not, in the insurance industry, listen to podcasts, and you get to a certain level of success in the industry, and it just kind of keeps coming in, and you don't have to work as hard. And so you have to keep driving. And that's part of the message that really spoke to me in David's book, that said, you should probably kick your own butt to go do something, to tell yourself that you need to work harder. And so, I decided to do this 4x4 by 48 challenge with no training and no real plan of how I was going to get it done, except for Friday afternoon, 5 hours before I was going to start it.
So what really, give me something internal. There's something within you, within your mind, your heart, your soul, whatever it was, that caused you to decide, I'm going to do this. What was that?
Well, I think, throughout my life, I've kind of had those moments. I did a triathlon 5 years in 2018 with zero training, just because I told a buddy I was going to do it. And, you make a commitment to doing something. And, I've heard you say it many times, Mike, a commitment is doing what you said you were going to do long after the mood you set it in is left. David Goggins talks about in that book, we make a decision to climb Mount Everest, not on the top of Mount Everest. You make that decision sitting in your living room when you're nice and warm. And so, you have to continually push and challenge yourself to get outside your comfort zone. And, part of that is pushing yourself mentally or physically to help you realize, I've got more to give. And if you're pushing yourself physically to give more, it's easier, I can put more effort in at the office, or I can put more effort in my personal life. I'm in Rotary, I can put more effort in fundraising, whatever it might be, fundraising. And so, that's why I've kind of drawn to those challenges, because over time, it's easy to recede back. It's hard to stay at that, going 100 miles an hour every day, all day long. And so, for me personally, I kind of go in fits and starts, and, I'll sprint really hard for, 4 or 5 months and then take a little break, but I get a ton done in those 4 or 5 months. So, these activities like, this challenge that I completed just this past weekend are one of those things that, continually get me outside of my comfort zone and push me to become more, it's COVID. I put on a little weight. And so, all right, let's jumpstart this thing by walking 48 or running 48 miles. It's probably a good way to kickstart the metabolism. So, that's just, it's something that I've done throughout my military career, business career, and personal life to help me refocus my energy, because it's easy to get distracted.
So I think you just said the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it again anyway. And as we've learned from our coaches, we need to hear things multiple times, say 7 times as an example. So why did you do this?
Because I wanted to prove to myself that I could. There's 2 things, Mike. One is we didn't do a fundraiser for my Rotary Club this year, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity. So, there's that opportunity. And then also, and so quick shout out, I think I've raised close to $2,000 or over $2,000. Get off my chair. Okay, I got the cat down here scratching my chair. Sorry about that. And so, fundraising, I'm very active in our Rotary Club, and I saw it as a good opportunity to do something, because we had to cancel our fundraiser last year. But then also just, it's one thing to think that you can do something, and it's another thing to go out and cash that check and do that event, whatever it is. I'm going I'm going to do X, and then go out and do it. And, I got a lot of inspiring messages from people on social media saying, you inspired me to get out running again. Oh, I'm not doing anything, oh, I could never do that. And it's not that, David's challenge wasn't that you had to run 4 miles. It was, and this is exactly what he said. If you can't run 4 miles, walk 4 miles. If you can't walk 4 miles, bike 4 miles. If you can't bike 4 miles, do some exercise for 40 to 60 minutes. I mean, one of the iterations, Mike, he did jumping jacks for 40 minutes.
I wasn't aware of all that. So that makes me feel better. Because you inspired me so much. Of course, I put out there that, yes, I'm going to do the next one. So, and I said, like 4 miles sounds good to me.
Yeah. And so, well, it's exercising for 40 to 60 minutes, Mike. It's not biking 4 miles. So you got to ride your bike for 40 minutes. Let's be clear.
I'm good with that.
But
so let's go ahead.
Yeah. But, and that's the thing is, you don't have to be superhuman to get outside your comfort zone. And that's part of the inspiring message that David has in his book is, look, you don't have to go from 40 to 80%. You need to go from 40 to 45. And then once it's exercising that muscle, whether it's actual physical or in the office, being more focused on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to tell you, I was in the office, I finished my last section at 7 p.m. on Sunday night, and I was smoked. I had nothing left it all out there, but I was up at 7 a.m. on the computer doing what I do every day for work, motivated and focused. And it didn't even feel like work. It didn't even feel hard. It was like, well, this is nothing. I motored yesterday, and, I'm motoring again today. And so, doing these things, whatever it is in your life, if you challenge yourself and you accomplish even part of that, it helps you become more, as you said.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is everybody out there who's either watching and or listening to this, you should find that one thing in your life that's going to be the fuel for your motivation and make that a consistent habit. Do you think there's anything to do with the physical aspect here, Bill?
For me, there always has been. I joined the military at 17. So there's a lot of, and I was in the infantry. So that's a lot of physical, there's a lot of road marching. There's a lot of running. There's a lot of, physical activity involved with that job that I did. And so that's always been a challenge. It's who's the fastest 2 mile guy, or who's doing more pull-ups, or who's doing more push-ups, or who's carrying more weight. And so, that physical challenge for me has always been there. And so, the problem I've always had, and I'll admit it, my mom actually asked me yesterday, she goes, so why don't you train a little bit before you do these things? Cause you always seem to do these, and then you're a wreck. You hurt yourself, or you're not you don't train before doing it. You do the training afterwards, but it's the thing to kickstart me. Well, if I'd only trained before I did this. So, I do it in reverse. I don't train for the event. I do the event and then I do training, but that's just, I'm a little nutty like that. But everyone's got to find their thing to kickstart themselves. And, that's the only way you're going to get any improvement. And, I was ready for that next thing personally. And, that you shared David Goggins with me right at the right time. And that message hit me at the right spot, because I was willing to hear it.
Yeah. So I think that's what we're looking for there. You use that as your Kickstarter.
Yeah.
You're a fire ready aim guy. So am I. So it is what it is. But nobody died, so we're good. So kudos to you. What I want to do is pull out of you for the next 5 minutes or so, or whatever makes sense for you. So you made the decision to do this. You either one day in the evening, sometime during the day, you said, I'm going to do this. And you are very much a decision guy. When you decide to do something, you're action packed, and you just do it. So props to you. You decided to do it. Bigger than that, you decided to do it and combo it with your philanthropy, giving back mentality, heart and soul. Props to you for doing that. Way to go and raising money for people worldwide, whether it be ending polio, benefiting water systems, combination of both. Thank you for that. So you've got your reasons and you decided to do it. And did you feel at some point as you got up that morning or whatever? And by the way, where are you from, Bill?
So we live in Minnesota, and it's March, so it's not 75 degrees and sunny.
So what was the temperature when you got out there first thing in the morning?
So I started at 10 p.m. The event, David Goggins said 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Friday the 5th. So depending on where you were in the world, everyone was starting at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, he had some 30 or 40,000 people all doing this worldwide at the exact same hour over the course of the event. And so, 10 p.m. was my first iteration. I went out and ran too hard, way too fast, and kind of messed up my right leg right out of the gate. And, it was, I think it was 26 degrees. And so, not only is it dark out in Minnesota at 10 p.m. in March, but it's also very cold. And so, there's that mental part of, forcing yourself to go do something that you're like, the first couple were, yeah, okay, this is kind of cool. And then, that was 10 p.m. The 2 a.m. wasn't quite as fun. And then you're doing 6 a.m. And, the thing you have to consider in this whole event is you're doing an activity from, say 2 a.m. to 2:40 a.m. and you get done and you got to get some nutrition. I work, I got in an ice bath at the end of this thing. And so, but then in 3 hours and 20 minutes, I got to be stepping off for the next 4 miles. So it's not like I get in bed and go sleep for, 8 hours. I get 2 hours of sleep and then I got to get up and start getting ready again. And, after, 8 cycles of that, you're starting to get really messed up, physically, mentally. I woke up the second 2 a.m. and I got the electric blanket wrapped around me. I got my legs up elevated. I'm trying to warm up from the ice bath before I have to go back out in the 26 degrees. The cat's sleeping on my lap. I'm all nice and warm. And it just is like, why am I doing this? And that's kind of what you're getting to. And David talks about that a lot in the book, is why. And you get to that, why am I running this marathon? Why am I doing this event? Why am I, I set this huge production goal for my agency, and you get, you're in July and you're only 40% of the way there when you wanted to be 60%. You're like, why did I do this to myself? And you have to be able to answer that question in those moments. And, making a commitment to other people is a big way to do that. And, Mike talked about the philanthropy part. I had people donating money about me completing this thing. And, I don't want to let them down. I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let, all those people like rah, giving me little gifts and the happy high fives and Facebook. But then a big motivator for David and a little bit of a motivator for me too, is all the people who want to see me fit. There's people on Facebook who are like, yeah, I hope that sucker blows up in the middle of the night and he doesn't finish. And, I want to prove them wrong.
How many iterations were there, Bill?
There were 12. So you had to do that 12 times. So 12, 4 miles wound up being 48 miles. So, the end of it, it took me an hour.
4 hours.
Yeah. Every 4 hours you're out running.
Started on Friday night at 10 p.m.
and finished Sunday
Saturday morning, 6 a.m. Saturday morning, turn around 10 a.m. Saturday,
2,
and throughout the whole weekend. And what time did the last iteration start?
6 p.m. 6 p.m. Sunday. And it took me, I had a leg injury, so I was only able to run 3 of the 12, which also sucks because for me, I don't like walking as much and it takes longer. And then you just have less downtime between each iteration. I basically lost about 25 minutes each time, and that's sleeping, that's eating, that's, a little bit of rest. And so didn't finish until almost 7 p.m. Sunday. So, it's not a full 48 hours, but you got to finish the whole thing in 48. So, from start to finish, it was, 45 hours of, constant grinding.
So I also learned something in my own personal training and development this morning that to piggyback on the wonderful things that you're sharing. Thank you, Bill, for being willing to transparently share. This says 90 days of pain for a lifetime of gain. So you did 48 hours of pain, which ultimately, if you think about this, will translate into a lifetime of gain, because what you went through will carry with you for a long, long time. Would you agree?
I would agree. And what's funny is if you do these things, if you challenge yourself to do these things, you're going to be able to draw on past experiences. David talks about it a lot in his book. He talks about the cookie jar, either that's happy memories or something that you've accomplished in the past. And, from a sleep deprivation standpoint and You know, I wasn't as hungry as I was in Ranger School, but just the grind part of it, of almost continual movement for that 48 hours with very little downtime, and the sleep deprivation part, because I probably only got about 8 hours of full sleep over the course of those 2 days. And that was the closest, like, just thinking back from what I did when I was in Ranger School. And so, but that was 20 years ago. You know, I went through that when I was 23. I'm 45, admittedly. And so, you know, that was a, you know, I think now, like, you know, I did that thing a long time ago, and this brought a lot of that back for me of, yeah, I accomplished this thing. I did this thing. And so you're able to draw on all your past experience when you challenge yourself in the present, all those challenges from the past, and they help you to accomplish those. And then, you know, it makes it easier to say yes the next time you want to challenge yourself.
Absolutely. So, Bill, congratulations. So you made the decision. You did 12 iterations every 4 hours of 4 miles of activity. You attempted to run the entire time. You got injuries. They prevented you from running the entire time, but you walked, you did whatever you had to do. I don't know if you were crawling at some point, but the bottom line is, say it again.
Not quite, but if I would have, my mom would have been very concerned at that point. But
you know something funny, and I hope this was okay. I didn't even ask your permission, but I did.
Go ahead.
Because it was out on social media. By the way, I watched the whole progression of everything on social media. So proud of you, Bill. Good job, man. But your mom, I think that was Saturday morning after I got back from my bike ride is when I saw this. And you put up a picture of the sunrise. And I saw your mom comment on that. And I said, this is what I said to Cindy. I said, "Oh, Bill, thank you for putting a picture of the sunset. I missed it." And I said to Cindy, I said, "This is Bill's mom. How come she didn't say, 'Bill, are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help you?'" No, she didn't care about any of that. She was bummed out she missed the sunset. I mean, WTF, right?
She was actually super concerned in the background, because the leg that I had problems with is the leg I broke in the old Army injury. And she's like, "You're going to do permanent damage." I'm like, "Well, I think the Army already did that to me. So we're just going to have to grind through this and bionic leg this thing up and finish." So that's what we did.
Yeah. So, you know, kudos to you. Back to 40%. It's been your observation through your growth. How many years in the industry, by the way?
So this coming up on this May will be 18-ish.
18 years in the industry. How many years in an agency ownership chair?
2017, I was named president of our family agency.
Okay. So about 5 years, 4 to 5 years. You've already been recognized on the cover of Rough Notes of Rough Notes magazine as the top agency in the nation. And you self-proclaim and talk about, through your observations and interacting with other agencies all over North America, you feel you're in the top 3% of agencies. Is that accurate?
I'll take the Pepsi challenge.
Okay, fair enough. Why do you feel that way? And what's the difference? And you already alluded to it, but I'm going to a point here. So through this achievement, through this growth, through this positioning and everything else, it appears that a lot of others out there have fallen into the thought process, complacency kills, it's okay to arrive, and it's okay to be settled. Why do you disagree with that? And how does that correlate with the top 3 agencies, top 3% of agencies in all of North America?
Well, I think, you know, for me, and I look at what I've been able to build, and, you know, over since starting with coaching in 2015, you know, I started on the wrong path initially, and then I regained my focus on what I needed to do to build a great agency. And I'll use that analogy because I think it's very easy to build a good agency in this industry. You know, good customer service, good clientele, good employees, or good team members. But to build a great agency, that's a differentiator. And the reason I say that is, you know, Jim Collins talks about that a lot in Good to Great is, you know, there's a lot of good businesses out there, but there's very few great businesses out there, and they stand the test of time. And so, you know, I think the things that I've been able to do in my agency, because I've been focused, and, you know, Mike's got an acronym, follow one course until success. I'm a little bit of a dog with a bone. Once I decide to do something, I do it. and try and see it through to completion. And I think that's a recipe for my success. And, if you have 20 projects half done, you've got nothing completed. So, if you just focus on a few things and do those well, that will set you apart from your peers. And, how we offer customer service, our relationships with our carriers, continually, even though we're, admittedly a smaller insurance agency, we have to be better because I don't have the size to rely on in the modern independent insurance agency industry to say, well, I got 15 million on the books. I got 25 million on the books. My agency's under 10 million. And so, I have more pressure on me from the carriers to be better and be successful. And so, continually striving to be better than, the biggest agencies. And if you're a small insurance agency out there, I cannot, sharing, David and Goliath, we actually have the advantage as a smaller agency. We can make decisions faster, better, and turn the ship to become better than the larger agencies if you're smaller, faster. So, that was also a game changer for me, is reading that book and realizing, I have actually more advantages as a small agency to guide my own path than as a larger agency, just because, I don't have to ask a board of directors. I make the decision, we do it. And the team's on board because I provide the vision behind it.
It's a wonderful place to be.
I would agree.
That's a privilege for you. So I just wrote down something that really just kind of hit me out of left field just now after all that I took in through your story. Thank you so much for sharing on this 100th episode of the Unstoppable Profit Podcast. Huge honor, huge privilege. Thank you, Bill. Habits of success and achievement. And that's the sum of what Bill's talking about today. What Bill talked about, the 4x4x48 challenge that he decided to go through, is just one of the habits of success and achievement. It's part of the fuel that he's brought to the table in part of his formula for habits of success and achievement. Jumping into coaching, deciding to be niche driven, deciding to invest in technology, being disciplined and only hiring the right people, being disciplined and only working right, and all of that, Bill. If anybody else is listening out there and maybe they've got a long list of things they'd like to fix in the next year that are not going right, what would you say to them?
I would say pick the top 12 items, 12 calendar months, and you can start in any month. It's March, so start in April and go for 12 months. And so pick 12 items and then pick the top 3 and then pick the top 1 and focus on that in April. And don't worry about the rest, because if you get that one item done in April and you complete it in April, then you can move on to item 2, which becomes your next biggest thing. It's so easy. Again, in this industry, I joke a little bit. My to-do list is 52 years long, and when I die, it won't be done. There's always something to do in the insurance industry as an insurance agency owner. The next checklist to build, the next thing, the next piece of technology, whatever it is, there's always something else. There's the next client to call and the client renewal. There's always a renewal to look at. So you're never going to be done. So you've got to focus on the things that are going to have the most impact in your business, because my business is different than yours. And so you got to figure out what's going to have the most impact in your business and then just get it done.
The 12-3-1 formula, game changer. By the way,
huge.
Where did you originally learn that?
I learned that from James. I actually learned that from James Malinchak because he was speaking at Unstoppable Boot Camp. It felt like it was impromptu. He just hopped up on stage, like after a morning session or something, He just riffed for a half an hour with a 3M flip chart, writing down on the stage. And that was some of the best content of that whole weekend was James Malinchak talking about, you just have to simplify what you're trying to do because there's so much. Do I work on the website? Do I work on my chat bot? Do I work on email? Do I send out a newsletter via snail mail still? I don't know. How do you do all that? So you got to figure out what's going to work for you and then take action and get it done. That's been my key for success.
12-3-1 formula, baby. That's great stuff. Thank you so much, Bill. Habits of success and achievement. And you have certainly exemplified that. It's part of your SMAC recipe. I know I've said that 2 or 3 times. Tell everybody in 30 seconds, if you're willing, what's your SMAC recipe?
So a SMAC recipe, just Google SMAC, big S, big M, small a, big C, and it's specific, methodical, and consistent. Comes from Jim Collins, and it's a recipe every business has, whether you know it or not. And the most successful businesses have changed the fewest ingredients over the course of not 3, 5, 10 years, 20, 25 years, regardless of market changes. And it's your recipe. So you have to make sure it's a good recipe.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about you preparing yourself through your habits of success and achievement is you're ready for pretty much anything that might come at you, correct?
Correct.
So recently an opportunity came knocking at your door and you were ready for it. But, and may we?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So you were able to acquire an agency.
First one for our agency. Yep. So we had a carrier rep call us out of the blue and say, "Hey, Bill, we have an opportunity. One of our other carriers we have with this carrier rep. They're looking for a buyer. Would you be interested?" And that was October of 2020, middle of COVID, and we closed February 1st. So 4 months, closed a deal.
So what I really wanted everybody to hear, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That's set your SMAC recipe into the next transition level, if you will, but will mean more freedom and more opportunity for you to do some other great things, which is fantastic. But why you? Why do you think they chose you? Did they tell you?
Well, I think it goes back to the relationships with carriers being recognized, and I tell this to my team all the time. Look, it's not the popular thing to say in insurance, but I can always get another client. I cannot get another carrier relationship. If I don't have carrier contracts in this business as an independent insurance agent, I have nothing to sell. And so those are like gold for us. And so I maintain those, I foster those, and our carrier reps for our agency appreciate that. So, and then they also see everything I'm doing in the background, whether I'm big with them or not. That we had and just so everyone knows, I had under $100,000 with the carrier rep who recommended me. And now we're over, almost 400,000 with that rep. So, it didn't have to do with size. It had to do with them knowing that we're a good agency and a good fit for the agency we acquired.
Because they practice habits of success and achievement, and because we attract exactly what we are and who we've become. And Bill's to be highly commended for becoming who he is, not only as an agency principal, but as a high-achieving, high-performing independent insurance agency in his region for now. And I might suggest that it's going to go well beyond that sometime in the future. And we didn't even get to that today. But it's because of the habits and the disciplines that he's built in. And he constantly is challenging that envelope, which is what you did with this 4x4x48 challenge, right, Bill?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Kudos to you. And so anything else you'd like to add concerning the challenge and why you did it to encourage and inspire somebody else out there? Because I know that, like you said earlier, so many people were inspired, encouraged. They were, cheering you on and everything, not only through the philanthropy part of it to, help people through Rotary to end polio and to build water wells in underserved areas of the world, but, just, hey, they wanted you to lose in the beginning, but once they decided he's not going to give up, they wanted you to win.
I just think, people, if you don't think you can do something, you're not going to do it. And you've got to commit to doing it. And, I said this when to get my mom retired from our small family insurance agency, we had to burn the ships. And it's the old Viking adage, the leader of the Vikings would burn the ships when they landed on the shore, when they were going to sack the town, because, there's no retreat. And, it's so easy in this business to get comfortable and, the mediocrity, to feel like you have arrived and, hey, you're getting profit sharing, you're winning trips from carriers. Well, if you're at a certain level, you can maybe win a trip from a carrier without having to do anything, just based on premium volume and how things go. And that can feel like arriving, but that actually is mediocrity. And so, if you have to do something to go out and challenge yourself, whether that's do a crazy physical challenge like I did, then go do it and put everything you have into it. And if it's, if it's challenging yourself to read a book every 2 weeks for the year, make a commitment, tell somebody else, and just start doing it. And that's the big thing, is just start.
Commitment is the thing you said you were going to do long after the mood you said it in has passed. Absolutely. And Bill, the thing that came to my mind just now is goals. What's your thoughts for people out there who may or may not have goals, who may, or if they have goals, they don't know what they are because they never look at them? What do you have to say to them?
You got to have a BHAG. You got to have a big, hairy, audacious goal. It needs to be a 10-year goal, and it needs to be something that consumes you, and you think about it when you, Jim Collins just talked about it in Entrepreneurship 2.0. When you wake up in the morning, it's standing in the corner staring at you. It's that hairy monster going, "I'm here all day, buddy." And when you go to bed at night, it's standing there saying, "I'm going to be here in the morning." And you need something to drive the ship. And, admittedly, my goal is I'm not going to share it on the air, but it's a huge goal for our agency to get to where I want us to be. And it's that 10-year moon goal. It's actually a goal that I set in 2019 for 2030. And, the goal for our agency within the niche that we play in is massive. And I have no idea how we're going to do it, but it's going to get done. And it's kind of like Kennedy saying, we're going to go to the moon. They hadn't even put a man in space yet when he said that, but they got to the moon. And so you have to challenge yourself. You have to set, a big goal, and then all the things that fall in line after that. That's that 12 by 3 by 1 principle. So, you have, and write it down, share it with someone. And, whether it's your spouse, a coworker, or, another owner at another agent, whatever, you've got to put yourself out there. And once I said I was going to go 48 miles on social media, there's no turning back from that. And you tell the world, "Well, yeah, I'm going to run 4 miles every 48 hours. And you do a Facebook Live video about it at the first one. And, people can go out, check out my social media. I got pictures of me wearing the Ranger shorts. We'll not use the actual term, but these very short military shorts that Rangers would wear. And, you take silly pictures of yourself before you start the first one, you better finish. So, challenge yourself, but then put it out there, because then it makes you cash that check. The
power of public proclamation.
Absolutely.
Public proclamation. That's another strategy, everybody. You can set a goal, and you can say, if I don't achieve this goal by 12/31 of the given year, say you could write $1,000 check to a charity, and you could give it to the charity. And you can say to the charity, if I don't achieve this goal by the end of the year, not only can you cash the check, I'm going to give you a second one. You can cash that one too, as an example. I mean, challenge yourself and put it out there.
Our buddy RFUC is a great one for, if you say anything about a goal, that dude will make you write a check for it. Okay, what date and when and how much you write? You better have a check in the mail if it's not done by that date, and you send it to him. He'll donate it to charity, but he'll make you write a check.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Bill, we could go on and on, but thank you so much for sharing from the heart, from the soul, from your success, from your habits of success and achievement on the 100th episode of the Unstoppable Profit Podcast. We couldn't be more proud. We couldn't be more grateful and honored to have one of our high-performing platinum coaching members since 2015, the Unstoppable BFUB, Bill friggin' Unstoppable Butler. Bill, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate the honor and privilege of being podcasty 100, whatever that's called. So yeah, thanks for having me, Mike.
You're welcome. Hey, Bill, I think we should do something special since it's the 100th podcast.
Let's do it.
Okay, so hold that book up again. So if there's anybody who hasn't heard of this book, who hasn't read this book, who would like a copy of this book, what we need you to do is simply, I'm going to pause, find something to write with, find something to write on. If you need to pause the podcast, go ahead. I'll slow down. And we need you to send an email to info@unstoppableprofitproducer.com. info@unstoppableprofitproducer.com. We need you to put your first and last name in the subject line, and we need your shipping address. Okay. Email info@unstoppableprofitproducer.com. Put your first name and your last name in the subject line, email us your shipping address. We will ship you an absolute 100% complimentary copy of that book up to the first 100 people. So first 100 people that are either listening and or watching this podcast, just info@unstoppableprofitproducer.com. First name, last name in the subject line. Put your shipping address in the body of the email. We will send it out to you with our compliments, with our gratitude on behalf of BFUB for being on the 100th episode of the Unstoppable Profit Podcast. And also let us know in the body of the email if you don't have a copy of this book yet, which is the Unstoppable Profit Producer. It's all about the 3 Ps, which is a proven 3-step blueprint to grow your business, create wealth, and live life on your own terms, all based on a simple philosophy of the 3 Ps, people, processes, and promotion. Let us know. We'll ship you a copy of that as well. So it's our honor to give back in a big way out of gratitude for everybody that is subscribed to the Unstoppable Profit Podcast. And if you're a first-time listener and or watcher and you're not subscribed, please go to the website, unstoppableprofitpodcast.com. Make sure you subscribe at the top. You can also find us out there on all the channels, whether it be Stitcher, whether it be Google, or any of the other podcast channels. We're there, Unstoppable Profit Podcast. Find us. You can go to YouTube and watch this from now on. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at unstoppableprofitproducer.com. That's the YouTube channel. And you can watch this all of the time. But we want to continue to bring great business strategies, thought processes, tips, not only from the highest performing agents in America, but from other people outside of our industry as well. And of course, we bring you information, strategies, growth strategies to grow your business, create wealth, so you can have more freedom to live life on your own terms from our own living agency laboratory. I've been there, done that, and I'm still doing it. So I know that was a lot of information. So if we can help you in some way and give back to you some way, we are here to do it. Bill, thank you so much. Any last words, my friend?
Just get out there and do something.
Yeah. Talking about it's not going to do it, right?
Talking is cheap. Just take action and do something.
Thinking about it's not going to do it.
No.
Only action, only being action-packed. Bill friggin' Unstoppable Butler from Minnesota. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, everybody. We will see you on episode number 101 next week. Stay tuned. We are going big and we are going beyond the moon. All right, everybody. Make a difference. Be unstoppable. Leave no regrets. And get out there and take action. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to listen to more episodes or share this podcast with someone you care about, please visit www.unstoppableprofitpodcast.com. Now go out and make a difference. Be unstoppable and leave no regrets.